I know, I was just. The spectacular was fabulous.
It was, it very much was, thank you. Okey-dokey, and then we go on to, finances, John is not here, so we can hold off on that. Hey, Nick. Oh.
Okay. Jamie?
Good evening. How was everybody?
Good.
Good. So I have a couple, in your packet, you will find a couple of quotes from Paul's Construction. At last meeting, it was decided that we wanted to replace the high planter with the low curbed planter at Michigan and Lincoln Way, but you guys had requested a quote, so that is what you see before you. To remove but leave the 6-inch curb for the concrete planter would be $8,000, and if you guys wanted to remove and replace with just pavers, that's $11,150.
And with that, I did have a question with those, with the flatbeds. How much room do we need to have depth-wise for the plants to be healthy? Do we know, is that something that,
So Nick was working on getting specs.
okay,
When he spoke with Paul's, they believe that what is there will be enough, because actually underneath it is hollow.
oh, okay,
So there should be enough room for planting
Okay.
next season.
okay.
18 to 24 inches.
Oh, thank you. And they're gonna be that much? I don't know if that's gonna be. Well, we'll see. Okay.
So with that, I would need to move forward with putting an insurance claim in. As you remember, we don't have anyone at fault for this one. It was a hit and run.
So I take it the city's on board if we go this direction as far as,
That's correct. So there was a pattern book that was approved, and everything that I'm discussing is in that pattern book. If you guys don't have it or haven't seen it, or maybe it just has been a little bit of time since you've seen it, I'd be happy just to email that to everybody.
oh, I mean,
So this does, yeah, going along with that does follow along with what they're looking at in the pattern book, and so that way this will kind of be a little test area.
right. So kind of temporary, but also could be part of still the long term.
Yeah. Do we want to go through and approve these as we go, so that way we're not doing them piecemeal? Okay.
That's fine.
I would move to approve the removal of the planter that removed the lower.
Your mic.
Sorry. I would move to approve going with the lower, following the pallet design, the proposed design with the new planters. And I guess that's at the $8,000 amount.
Correct.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Perfect. The next one should be, so we had talked about the Jackson and Lincoln Way Flagstar planter that we were good with removing. But after the conversation about the 6-inch curbed planter and two potentially wanting somewhere to be able to plant and/or excited to still have plantings, I asked Paul's to give me an idea of what it would look like if we did the 6-inch curbed planter. We do have insurance money already in for that, and that was in the amount of $7,950. Paul's is proposing to do the 6-inch curb at $6,950 if we're interested. Otherwise, we can just do the removal and replace with pavers or concrete. And that would be
I would
the-
just add, the other $1,000 that would be left over could be used for the electrical, the removal of the electrical and any other work that might need, if we need to do anything as far as any parts or anything with regard to city crews, to make any of them whole. So having that flexibility would be good if you go that route.
Okay, and with that, since we did approve it to be removed before, do we need to retract that in some manner? or just override that vote? Okay. And that's in this situation, it does seem like using the curb instead of the planter or completely removing it sounds like a better option.
I move that we revise our action on the planter at Lincoln Way and Jackson to, instead of completely removing and replacing with pavers, to remove and leave the 6-inch curb.
I second.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And then the last one that I have for Paul's is the Rumley repairs, but I'm gonna let Craig talk about this one with you guys because he's better versed at what's going on with that one.
So you can see that the total cost, same as last time, we just had it put together on a specific estimate, so you could see just the Rumley as opposed to the entire package that we looked at before. So all total, their quote is $17,200 to do all those repairs around the Rumley and that block around the Rumley. I think it's necessary, because we've basically run out of time this season to complete the work. I would recommend holding off on doing the work this year and looking at next year. And I'd also suggest that we take a look at the possibility of encumbering funds for Paul's to be able to do that for next year, but I'd like to discuss that with John before you take any action. And I just want to make sure that we reconcile everything in terms of what the city shows as far as amounts available and what John shows. So we still have time before the meeting in November for John and Jamie and I to meet and make sure we're all on the same page before you take any action with regard to an encumbrance. But I would recommend that you hold off on taking action on this one this year, just because we physically run out of time to complete that work. Paul's is currently completing the work that you approved previously, and they're gonna get that done this year, but that's about it. So I think we'll just hold off on this until the next meeting.
So with that, so Paul's has completed the sidewalk pavers issues
They're
are,
currently working on
Okay,
those. Yep,
okay.
they were out there today working on those, I know, and I think they're gonna be working on those throughout the week. So
Yes, we have a tree that needs.
there's a tree that remains removed. We need to remove some electrical. We're working on some of those issues, so, yep. So I would hold off on that one for now.
Why could we not seek an alternative mason to do this work?
We're not aware of an alternate mason at this point that's available in the time frame that we're talking here. So, if we do look at something like that, we would have to look at next year.
That's probably what we're looking at anyways, right?
Yes.
Unless we're talking about encumbering the funds yet this year.
Those would be
So-
encumbered for next year.
Right, but we would still need the quote, would we not?
We have the quote.
But if
No,
we looked
if
at
we
another
switch-
option,
I'm sorry, wait.
He's correct. If we switch masons.
If we were to switch masons, we
You
would have
can't
to,
encumber the funds.
we would have to encumber the funds for a different mason.
Correct, so there's not time potentially to get a quote.
If we
from
can get a
another
quote
mason.
from another mason, we can look at that in November. But that's something that we could look at in November. Yeah,
I mean, I can call around and contact folks and give them the same exact thing.
yeah.
I don't mind doing that.
It's
yeah,
not
I
gonna
think if
change.
we're not taking action until November anyhow, there's no harm in doing that.
Right. And we may not even have to encumber in November anyways, even if we know we're heading down this path, so I'd say see what we can find.
in time before you mentioned Pavey as one of the ones that you wanted us to check in with?
Don't know if he would be interested in this work. You can contact him. He could tell you if he'd be interested in this work, but I am aware of potentially another mason.
Okay.
Just because I know the Rumley's sensitive.
Well, if you want to get that information to Jamie, then she can look into it.
She hasn't.
Okay. Got it. Okay, so I will make calls then and see what I can come up with before the November meeting regarding the Rumley repairs. And then the last two items that I have, that you have in front of you, are for electrical repairs on the decorative light poles at the top of the poles. So the last meeting, it was determined that that is part of BID's responsibility, I believe. John and I talked about it. There are currently 41 outlets that were tested that are not working. That could be something as simple as a fuse. It could be more intuitive. I'm not sure. I'm not an electrician. I wish I was, but I'm not. So I've asked MCOR to give us a quote, and Continental. I did reach out to a third contractor who was unable to provide the quote for us before tonight. So I brought these two in front of you. The difference that I see is MCOR is going to be about $13,120, and that is not a not to exceed. Continental gave us a not to exceed. So his quote was $11,800 with a not to exceed. So they won't go over that amount, even if it takes them 2 weeks to complete.
So to clarify, the 320 from MCOR is 320 per, and you
Per-
said they're about 41.
Per pole, correct. And again, I have to somewhat think, because I know that you guys repaired a lot of things last year, because I was part of getting someone out there to take a look at it. I have to think that some of these are simple as a fuse. I really can't understand how that many would continue to, just my 2 cents.
Are both contractors able to get it in within the time frame that we need to have them fixed?
So last I checked, yes, I do need to reach back out to MCOR just to confirm again, but I actually just spoke with a gentleman named Chuck from Continental. He just got me this quote on the 14th, and he is telling, in the email, and I don't think he specified it in here. Oh, he did on the back. He would provide us with 2 men, a truck, and supplies. Maybe it's not in here, but it is in my email that I can forward if you guys want to see it. And he thinks that he can have it done within days. But again, if it's not done within days and it takes a week, it's still the same price. It will not exceed.
Do we know if John's going to make it tonight, or is he?
No, you'd be the one who he talked to about that. So I'm going to assume at this point, probably not.
I'm trying to look at the minutes to see where we sat last year as far as what we've got for the rest of the year. Obviously, we got to do the electrical work coming up on the holidays. That's kind of the point of having those done.
I think we're confident that we are okay financially to do the electrical work. We just want to verify the other items before we move on.
Yeah, the minutes say we have 32,000 to complete the rest of the year, so I mean, that's.
Again, we have to verify with John based on reconciling statements from the city and his financials. But we're, either way, based on conversations we've had with the controller, or with the clerk treasurer's office, we're more than able to handle the electrical repairs.
I would make the motion then that we go with the Continental not to exceed 11,800.
Nope, there he is.
I second.
And now we'll have discussion now that our
Right.
financials is here.
You are welcome.
Hey, John.
We're getting ready to write a check for about 12 grand. We need you to tell us whether that's a good idea or a bad idea.
Fine. No, we're covered.
So in a nutshell, John, what we're talking about is we got a quote for electrical repairs from 2 different companies. We reached out to 3, but we got responses from 2. MCOR was about $13,120 without a not to exceed, and Continental was $11,800 with a not to exceed. So the recommendation from us and the motion that's been made is to consider approving the $11,800 from Continental. Within,
ASAP, he said he could,
and within days.
yeah, and it would be finished within days, yep.
Okay. In a nutshell, we have,
Oh, John, your microphone, sorry. New system.
okay. In a nutshell, we've got 52.6 in our maintenance budget that remains. And I know we had the 2 projects with Paul's, that I think was gonna be around 33. This 11 would then take us down to 22, or it would be 44, so it takes us down to 8, and we're spending 2,500 tonight. So we'll be
And there's one item that.
real close.
In conversation with Ashley in the clerk treasurer's office tonight, we want to reconcile some things with you between now and the November meeting, so we're recommending holding off on the Rumley repairs for this
Okay.
evening, and looking at that for November.
And it was also suggested that I contact another mason, and I have that contact information already before the November meeting to see if there's a difference
Okay.
and what that difference would look like.
Okay, so that then puts us easily in alignment if the Rumley gets
And
delayed, but even
And we
if
physically aren't able to complete the work this year, so we're talking about whether or not we want to encumber. it.
encumber it over.
Right.
Yep, okay. So, in a nutshell, that's where, I mean, we did move, we transferred unused funds from other places, from other parts of our budget. Totaled about $8,200 that we rolled up into maintenance. So we had some professional services, which used to be where we would pay Amy out of, but that's not where they're paying that out of now, so we rolled that number into our maintenance number. So, and that was about $8,000 of the total that we moved. So that's how we end up with that $50,000 sitting there. After tonight, there is about $50,000 after we pay Amy for what she's done through September and the middle of October. So if we take another 12 out for this, we still have 38,000 left. And I know we had the two quotes from Paul's, one was 13 and one was 18 or something, 17, 18, something like that. So if we net, and the 13 is the smaller one that they are gonna complete, is my understanding.
Yep.
So we would still have 25,000 left in our budget for November and December. And if Clinton does his thing and keeps the snow away, we're in good shape. So, just want to catch you all up on exactly how the math worked, so. Yes, yes.
So, yeah.
So we have a motion and a second.
Oh,
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
That is all I have.
thank you.
Thank you.
And Amy, did you have anything maintenance-wise that we needed to, Amy, that we needed to discuss? Or are you good? I'm good. Okay. I covered everything last month. Okay. And then, John, are you ready to go to finances, or I can do planters?
I don't have a full-fledged report,
Okay.
but I have, well, we talked about the 52,000 that we have in the maintenance portion. We have about 120,000-ish in cash. We have that, about 53,000 total we can still spend, based upon the budget that was passed through. So, excuse me, with what we're doing tonight, we're not gonna cause a problem on the maintenance side. And the only other expenses that I think we would have would be whatever we wrap up with Amy, and then we need to pay Lindsay for her services. And I think we're getting pretty close to the end, as long as snow is not a part of our picture. So, last month, we received about $3,000 total, a little over $200 in interest and $2,800 in insurance proceeds. And we spent $6,100 sidewalk maintenance and planter watering. So that was where all the money came from and went last month. This month, I only expect to get the interest. I don't know of any other claims that we'd be getting insurance proceeds from. And the only bill that I have is from Amy for 5 weeks of the sidewalk maintenance from September 16th through October 14th. $500 a week, $2,500 total.
Before you got here, we approved two Paul's quotes, one which is entirely covered by insurance, and the other one which will be pending an insurance claim. That one was for 8,000,
Okay,
so just catching you up on that.
okay.
Those are both on planners.
So the way the math works, that will actually end up counting against that 25,000 because we've already reduced or increased our maintenance money for the insurance proceeds that we've already received. So yeah, we might be down to about 17,000 now after that gets taken care of on the maintenance side. So Amy, if it snows,
Yeah, we'll pay you in, we'll pay you in January, yeah.
get me through Thanksgiving and we're okay. So I guess all we would need is an approval for Amy's 5 weeks of service.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, planters.
So we have been working on ways to cut back the majority of the plants on the outer streets and try to keep Lincoln Way as full as we have been, but trying to keep down, one, the amount of watering that we're doing, but two, also the plant amount that we've been, over the past few years where we've been at, to just get the overall cost down on those. And so we're working on different options. The last meeting, they had sent the invoice, which they actually meant that just to be a quote. So we don't have anything as far as filling in extra soil. We don't have any expenses there. And I believe that we've all collectively agreed that we do not need to fill in extra soil because we don't know what's going to happen with the planters. That's it. Fred?
No tree report.
Jim?
No report. I'll get with Greg and his team to have a few discussions. I've been out the last few months from meetings, so we'll get more to you.
Okay. And do we have any old business? Any new business? Ju-
I just had a question. I talked with Jamie here about a month ago about possibly doing some decorations, putting out festive things around the trees in front, around the, she told me I needed to be at tonight's meeting to discuss it. The monies would come out of my pockets, okay, for like bills, and that, okay.
That way it's on record, sorry.
All right. I stepped in about 10 minutes late.
Oh, just up to the podium.
And can you state your name too, please? Sweet.
Andrew Killen. But no, I've lived across the street for about 8 years now, and each year I try and do something festive around there to make it homely and more inviting for the residents and as well as the neighborhood. And the monies come out of my pocket. I do the upkeep and everything on it, and when it's time, I take the stuff down. And I was just wondering if I'd be allowed to do that again this year.
In past years, that has been an issue that we've had to take a vote on before, particularly during COVID, when they had decorated for, I think, the 4th of July and stuff like that. And as far as downtown goes, as far as the design, I don't believe that we are actually allowed to approve that based on what we have approved in the past. And we've also had other businesses that we've had to have them take down their decorations that they've had in the planters. So we couldn't allow you to do it, but then not allow other people to do it.
Okay, so in other words, just leave it plain Jane? No.
I think that's as far as us, that's all we can do, I believe. I think that's all we have the authority to do, isn't it?
We do the wreaths.
Pardon?
We do the wreaths.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, as far as what we could grant him permission on, I don't think that we actually have the,
Right.
based on what we've rolled on in the past.
Well, I was just talking about hay bales and pumpkins around the trees out there, and it wouldn't exceed the perimeter of what's already there.
Yeah, no, that's, I don't believe so, anything that we could approve.
Okay,
based
All
on
right,
how it's
well,
been
you know
pulled in
what?
the past.
I'll give it a shot.
Oh, yeah,
I had
no,
to ask.
I appreciate you coming.
Not a problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Amy? Yeah.
Sorry, I do have one thing.
Yeah.
The light poles had purple ribbons put on them,
Yes.
and they were not taken down, and I wanted to get permission to take those down.
Yeah, they should have been taken out, I think, a month or so ago. And I don't have an issue with that. Does anyone else have an issue?
Yeah, I just
That-
wanted to get your permission to take them down because some of them are starting to look a little ragged.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be greatly appreciated. Thank you,
Okay,
Amy.
thank you.
For catching that. Okay. Anything else? Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Second.
Okay, we are adjourned. See you guys on November 12th.